Hi everyone, and welcome to this plant tutorial bite for oxygen not included. As always, make sure to check out the plants tutorial bite if you haven't already for an overview of the plant mechanics. In this plant tutorial bite, we're looking at waterweeds, which are quite a useful food plant that makes lettuce. Waterweeds are found in saltwater biomes, along with the saltwater and bleachstone they need to grow. They're grown from waterweed seeds, which apart from making waterweed plants or feeding pacu, do have a unique use in the spice grinder to make Brawny spice when combined with iron. This gives dupes a +3 strength buff for a little over 1 cycle. Looking at their conditions, their livable temperature range is higher than most plants, between 22 and 65 degrees Celsius. For decor, they provide a +10 bonus at a small 1-tile range. They also have specific atmosphere requirements, and being 2 tiles high, their top tile must be in gas and the bottom tile in water, saltwater or brine, but the mass limit for the liquid depends on its type. Even though they are water plants, they can still drown unlike thimbleweeds. This happens at 95% of the full liquid tile mass, so is different for each liquid. When in water, the limit is 950 kg per tile, saltwater is 1045 kg per tile, and brine is 1140 kg per tile. This is in addition to the requirement of the top tile being in gas, so any liquid on the top tile will still drown the plants, even if the bottom tile is below the mass limit. Waterweeds are quite slow growing, but drop a lot of lettuce in one go. It takes a plant 48 cycles to grow when wild, or 12 cycles domestic. When ready to harvest, you get 4,800 kilocalories of lettuce, so that means you need 10 plants per dupe if eating this raw and wild farming, or 2.5 per dupe if domestic. While 10 wild plants per dupe is quite a lot, interestingly, raw lettuce is actually the most efficient plant per dupe for any single food plant, tied with sleet wheat when making frost buns. Note that this is only beaten by mushroom wrap, which is the absolute best plant-only food in terms of number of plants required, but this will need both waterweeds and dust caps. Doing that comes out to a total of about 9.6 plants per dupe, with 3 1/3 waterweeds and 6 1/4 dust caps per dupe. Growing domestic waterweed takes 2 fertilizing materials, saltwater and bleachstone. Therefore, they are best grown in hydroponic tiles to supply the saltwater automatically, and it's easiest to simply grow them in gas and then spill on a little bit of water or salt water with a pitcher pump to get the atmosphere right. To fertilize the plants, generally the salt water is going to be sustainably supplied from a saltwater geyser, but beware that both the saltwater geyser and salt slush geyser are too hot and too cold for the plants respectively, so you'll need to heat or cool the plants as required. The bleachstone is a bit harder to supply, but with the introduction of the new bleachstone hopper, this has become much easier. Of course you can still use squeaky puffs, but this is much more difficult, and each squeaky puff can support a huge 56 waterweeds. For a guide to that, see the Puffs Critter tutorial bite. Assuming you use a single hot salt water geyser, and then the bleachstone hopper fed with salt from the same geyser, the numbers look like this. A single geyser can therefore sustain 68 domestic waterweeds on average, and makes enough food for 27 dupes. This would also consume just over 1.7 kg per cycle of gold too. Note that the salt slush geyser produces half the amount of salt water as the hot one, so one of those will sustain 34 plants. So moving on to the uses of lettuce, I've already covered 2. It can simply be eaten raw, but has a terrible food quality which isn't great. There are then 3 ways to cook it to make better quality food, and all of these are done in the gas range. The first is mushroom wrap, as I mentioned, and you would need 3 1/3 wild plants per dupe, or 5/6 of a domestic one. Even further, lettuce is also an ingredient in 2 top-tier foods. The newly introduced mushroom quiche uses a small amount of lettuce, as well as omelette and fried mushroom. For 1 dupe's worth of mushroom quiche, you would need 4 wild waterweed plants or 1 domestic. And the highest tier of food, the frost burger, also uses lettuce with barbecue and frost buns. These use very little lettuce though, so each dupe would only need 2/3 of a wild waterweed plant or 1/6 of a domestic one. So overall, it's quite an important plant if you want to make any of these. And that's all for this quick look at the waterweed plant in oxygen not included. I hope this helped with these useful watery plants, and thanks for watching.